Welcome to this month's edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime, where we're hoping you can help us solve burglaries, and more burglaries.
And we want to mention right up front that we did not plan to be the Bobbsey twins today, however
Great
we
minds
are.
just think alike.
But switching gears, this is going to be a very disturbing case that we have up front. It involves animal abuse out of Walton County. We do want to tell you, however, that the animal is now safe.
Yeah, and first up, Walton County Sheriff's Office is searching for the owner of a dog that was found with a chain through its neck. Walton County Animal Control responded to a call for an injured dog on Dogwood Road. Now, when the officers arrived, they noticed the dog, which was described as a yellow lab, had a carabiner through the skin of its neck with a chain hanging from it, and apparently it was pretty heavy, too, from what folks at Alaqua said. But the dog was taken over to Alaqua Animal Refuge, where it's being treated, and I understand he's doing very well. Now, Alaqua is actually offering a $4,000 reward, which would be separate from anything that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers would offer, but there are two separate rewards available in this case, so anyone with information, please contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. Remember, you can remain anonymous.
And we're hoping that there's a happy ending. This dog will end up finding its forever home and not have to endure anything like that ever again.
Absolutely.
Next up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is trying to identify these 4 individuals in reference to a vehicle burglary that took place at Destin Commons on August 11th around noon. The suspects forced entry into the car by popping the lock, and then they took a purse, jewelry, and credit cards. Video from the Destin Commons shows the pictured vehicle pull up beside the victim's vehicle, and a thin black male entered it, grabbed the purse, and drove off. The victim's credit cards were immediately used at Walmart and Target by the below pictured 2 males and 2 light-skinned black females. The female in the pink tank top had tattoos on her chest, both arms, and her stomach, and the group charged more than $6,500 in merchandise. Anyone with information about these thefts and burglaries, please contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers immediately.
And the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is also seeking information in a rash of Niceville vehicle burglaries. This happened back on August 5th. You can see the man in this video is pulling on vehicle door handles on Troon Drive over in Niceville. Now, luckily, this one was locked, but deputies did receive several other reports of vehicle burglaries on Troon Drive that same day. So anybody who might recognize him, of course, deputies would like to talk to him, reference those burglaries, give us a call, 863-TIPS.
And believe it or not, more car burglaries. 4 black males seen on camera burglarizing several cars on Legion Drive in Destin around 4 a.m. in the morning of August 2nd. After burglarizing the vehicles, they then stole 3 of them: a white 2015 4-door Kia Optima, a silver 4-door Acura Infiniti, and a dark-colored GMC Terrain. The Terrain was later found abandoned off Applin Road in Crestview, and we just want to remind everybody, with all this rash of car burglaries, lock your doors, take your keys, hide your belongings, and obviously these people that are having their purses and things, wallets stolen, turn around and you're a victim of identity theft, which just compounds your problems. So prevention's everything in these cases.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to switch from vehicle burglaries to a business burglary. The Walton County Sheriff's Office is searching for a barefoot burglar responsible for a Villa Tasso gas station burglary. Now, the burglary occurred during the early morning hours of August 29th at a gas station near the Okaloosa-Walton County line there on Highway 20. About 4 a.m., the shoeless suspect seen on surveillance video, which is great video, by the way, so take a look at this. He's seen lingering in the parking lot of Boggy Bayou gas station located at 16080 State Highway 20 West. Now, he was wearing a facial mask, long sleeve shirt, gloves, shorts. Twice he attempted to break the glass of the front door, got spooked by some passing cars. Several minutes he lingered in the parking lot before he actually successfully was able to break the glass on the front at about 4:24 a.m. Now, he entered the store, and actually in about 17 seconds, it all happened pretty quick, he was able to steal several packs of cigarettes. So 3 minutes later, the store's alarm company notified the Walton County Sheriff's Office, who responded. But that is, like I said, some great video, so take a look and maybe somebody will recognize him even though he's got his face covered.
Next up, since school started, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office has already made 2 arrests in connection with threats of violence, students making threats of violence. And a lot of cases, the kids will say, well, I was just joking, or I didn't mean it. Sheriff Larry Ashley is reminding parents to please talk to your kids and make sure they're aware that if the threats are made and substantiated, an arrest is going to take place.
You need to be involved in your child's social media activity. Whatever that activity may be, you need to govern, monitor, and be in charge of that, because these are second-degree felonies when you make a social media threat. And those felonies last forever. They don't go away. They can affect your ability to vote. They can affect the child's ability to own a firearm ever in their life. They can affect their ability to get a job. That record follows them forever. And this is a serious matter. We're not taking anybody that, hey, I was just kidding. Hey, I didn't mean it. If you make a threat, we live in an age and time where it's just not acceptable. It's not going to be tolerated. You will pay the consequence. And we want our parents to be able to tell their children that this is not a laughing matter. This is not a joking matter. This is akin to walking into a theater and screaming fire, that you're going to jail. Let me stress that we've got plenty of resources to deal with threats, and that we will use all our resources for those people who make threats. It is a serious matter when you say, I'm going to shoot up a school. It's a serious matter when you say, I'm going to blow up something, or have a gun, or I'm going to do a drive-by. It's a serious, we're going to take you at your words. We're going to believe what you say, what you post. We're going to say, well, they wouldn't post it unless they mean it, and we're going to come find you, and we're going to arrest you for making that threat. Secondly, adults that allow kids to take photos with their own firearms and the like, you're just as much responsible. You're contributing to the problem if you let a kid play around with a rifle or a handgun or whatever weapon you have and start taking social media pictures with it. We highly discourage that. I would caution you, social media is not the place to file a report. Social media is not the place to start making accusations and innuendo and spreading rumors. Call your local law enforcement agency, report whatever it is you've heard from your child, from rumors, whatever it is, we'll check it out. But all we do when we post those unsubstantiated rumors on social media is to get everybody spun up, and then everybody stops what they're doing and starts making these accusations until an investigation is complete. It's just that, a rumor.
And as always, we remind everyone that if you do see something or hear something, be sure to say something. And of course, kudos to the students who reported those threats.
Absolutely. Next up, we're going to go down our first list of fugitives that we're hoping you can help us find. And Nicholas Gonzalez II is at the top of the list. He's 20 years old, and he's wanted for violating probation for burglary, grand theft, and grand theft of a motor vehicle. His last known address was in Fort Walton Beach. Christopher Adam Ballard's wanted for VOP for possession of a controlled substance and obstructing criminal investigations. Last known address, Pine Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And next up is 32-year-old Tamothy LaCole Hankins. She's wanted for insurance fraud, uttering a forged instrument, and grand theft, last known to live up in Laurel Hill.
Clayton McCree Copeland is up next on the list. He's wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker and grand theft of a motor vehicle. Last known address was in Destin.
Craig Mitchell Mayfield, who was last known to live on Troy Street in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft of a motor vehicle.
Daryl LaShawn Williams, this is a case out of Walton County. He's wanted for lewd and lascivious behavior.
And some good news, Jeffrey Brian Way, who actually had been wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office, has been located thanks to a Crime Stoppers tip.
Walton County, however, is still looking for James Dexter Jackson. Jackson's wanted for burglary, grand theft, and grand theft of a motor vehicle. Last known address was in Freeport. And
Walton County is also searching for Devin Earl Jordan, who's 22. He's wanted for violation of probation, last known to live in Defuniak Springs.
Kaylin Elizabeth Mitchell's wanted for violating probation on charges of grand theft and possession of a controlled substance. Mitchell's last known address was on Tanager Road in Fort Walton Beach.
56-year-old Roy Nelson Howland, he's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of possession of methamphetamine, last known to live on Harry Adams Road in Holt.
Still looking for Ronnie Eugene Coley. He's wanted for failure to appear on a charge of possession of a weapon by a convicted felon.
And some more good news. Billy Leon Thorne located thanks to a Crime Stoppers tip.
Dusty Lee McHouston's wanted for VOP, resisting arrest, battery on a law enforcement officer, and possession of a controlled substance. He used to live on Whitmer Ranch Road in Laurel Hill. We're hoping somebody out there knows where he is now.
And last up on our first list of fugitives is 34-year-old Enjoli Rochelle Johnson. She's wanted for aggravated battery, last known to live on Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
Now, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office recently hosted an impressive, very impressive group, I'll say, of young men and women from all across Florida. They were from Explorers Post. That's the group of kids that are probably interested maybe in learning to be law enforcement officers, or at least gaining some leadership skills. And they took part in a wide-ranging array of activities, including everything from felony traffic stops to the physical fitness course that the Sheriff's Department does. So let's take a look at their conference that they just held. How are your sharpshooting skills against some competition? These Sheriff's Office Explorers, including local member Michael Raish, are finding out at the summer conference. But the Explorer program offers a chance to learn so much more.
Definitely leadership, teamwork.
It's part of the Boy Scouts of America. It's through the Learning for Life program. We 14 to 21 years of age. The kids that might be interested in career in law enforcement or just want to find out more about law enforcement.
It's helping to shape them into future law enforcement officers in our state. It's teaching them the core values of what we do every day.
Okay, I want you to call out the number that fits a white female wearing jeans with a gun in her hand. Okay. Okay?
And helping to prepare them to take on that role.
Charlotte County Explorer Corporal Alec Barone is on that track.
I definitely am because I grew up in a law enforcement household. My dad was a Broward Sheriff's deputy for 30 plus years. It's just really, it sounds corny, but it's in my blood, I think. I have a lot of fun doing it, so that's just my calling, I feel.
Barone loved running the OCSO's Physical Abilities Testing, or PAT course, despite a heat index hovering around 105.
I think it was awesome. It was much better than last year. I really enjoyed it here. It was a lot of fun. I liked how it wasn't actual. It wasn't a dummy. It was a cart, which was interesting, and I like hopping through the windows.
The week of summer conference is action-packed.
A lot of the scenarios: active shooter, domestic violence, crisis intervention, traffic stops, and felony traffic stops.
Most of the stuff is teamwork because we want them to understand that law enforcement is teamwork. You can't just go out here and do this job by yourself thinking you're going to be that officer that can do it all to yourself. This is a team. We work as a brother and sister team whenever we're on patrol, in our SRO unit. No matter where you go in this agency, you work as a team to help solve whatever crimes are going on or find solutions to problems.
And for more information on the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Explorers, including how to become an Explorer with an actual application, just head to sheriff-okaloosa.org, and it's under the Join Us tab where you can click on OCSO Explorers.
Great group of kids. Now we're going to head down our second list of wanted people that have active warrants that we're hoping you can help us find.
And first up is 25-year-old Reginald Dwayne Muse. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking.
Chad Alford's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for aggravated assault and causing the cruel death, pain, or suffering of an animal. Last known address, Powell Drive in Niceville.
Next up is Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr. He's last known to live on Brook Street over in Fort Walton Beach. He's wanted for failure to appear for fraud, providing a false statement to obtain unemployment compensation.
Please contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where William Brian Harnish is. He's wanted for VOP for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia. Used to live in Freeport.
And deputies are still searching for Leanne Summer Lawson, who's 20 years old. She's wanted for violation of probation for possession of cocaine, last known to live on Seibert Avenue in Destin.
Lucas Lorenzo Williams is still on the Crime Stoppers list. He's wanted for armed robbery that took place in October of 2016 in Defuniak Springs.
33-year-old Timothy James Howard, he's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, and failure to appear for fraud, last known to live on Bearhead Road up in Defuniak Springs.
Edward Lamont Fountain, wanted for failure to appear for carrying a concealed weapon, possession of a weapon and ammo by a convicted felon, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of narcotics equipment, as well as a traffic charge, last known to live Wilson Street in Crestview.
And deputies are still searching for 59-year-old Felipe Carrera Gonzalez Sr. He's wanted for failure to appear for battery, last known to live on Earl Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Seamus Mason Cotner Marshall is wanted for violating probation on charges of battery and fraud. His last known address was in Mary Esther.
George Monroe Emmerich II, he's wanted for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
And another familiar name, Alexis Wilmer Mondragon, 33 years old, wanted by the Okaloosa Sheriff's Office for sexual battery, sexual offenses against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation.
And this next individual is wanted for child neglect and violation of probation for a traffic charge and possession of a controlled substance. That's Teresa Jean Gore. She was last known to live on Lloyd Street in Fort Walton Beach.
And finally on this list, Brittany Linnell Sanders. She's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violating probation on charges of creating, using, or possessing counterfeit credit cards with intent to use, of course, that counterfeit information.
Now, the prevalence of fentanyl has proven a risk not just to the users, but also to first responders and even law enforcement canines. But the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is prepared to protect their four-legged officers to the best of our ability.
Law enforcement canines are revered for their loyalty, intelligence, intense work ethic, and their contributions to public and officer safety. But just like their human counterparts, their everyday job can be dangerous.
Crawl out or you're going to get bit. Crawl out now.
Now there's a new threat, opioid overdose. Exposure to the same narcotics like fentanyl that can kill a human can also kill a police canine.
Well, our biggest concern is if one of these dogs, one of these canines get into the car fentanyl or even fentanyl, and they get a hit and they go unresponsive, right. It will knock out the respiratory drive, and that's what they will die of, is anoxiation from not breathing. Right. So as long as we can control an airway until at least we can get them to the vet.
To address the threat, not only have Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office canine handlers been trained on how to administer Narcan, an opioid reversal agent, to their dogs, they're going a step further. Niceville vet Dr. Scott Harris is training them how to intubate a dog in the field. Canine Rico has to be sedated to have his nails trimmed, so it's a perfect time to train his handler, Sergeant Tony Kelly, how to do the procedure that could save Rico's life in an overdose emergency.
Tony's going to stay right here and hold his head, okay? And then what I'm going to do is, I love you, I wish I could give you a cookie. All these dogs love me because I give them cookies.
And the push to learn emergency medical procedures that could be done in the field doesn't end here. OCSO canine handlers have all been given medical kits for their dogs, but they're also upgrading those kits and getting an education in basic emergency medical care. Okaloosa EMS and Dr. Harris are working to produce guidelines for canine handlers so they can do initial treatments on anything from a snake bite or broken leg to a gunshot wound or heat stress. The goal is for handlers to have enough resources and knowledge to keep a dog alive long enough to get it to the vet.
We're not going to waste time. If this stuff is happening, we're not going to let my babies die. It ain't going to happen.
And we want to give out a huge thank you to Dr. Scott Harris and Blue Water Bay Veterinary Clinic, as well as EMS, and then Kevin Veach donated those kits, those medical kits for the dogs. All those contributions go a long way to help protecting our canines, and definitely grateful for their help.
And now we have a third and final rundown of fugitives for you to take a look at. We do want to remind you they are all wanted as of today's taping date, which is August 31st, 2018. And first up on our last list is 22-year-old Joshua James Picard. He's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for possession with intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance, also possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia.
The Fort Walton Beach Police Department is still trying to track down Juan Ramon Marquez for trafficking in stolen property. They say his last known address was on Jonquil Avenue in Fort Walton Beach.
And Okaloosa deputies are still looking for 36-year-old Roderick James Rutterson Jr., and he's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked, last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And back to a warrant with the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. John Henry Bonner's wanted for grand theft and violation of the Pawnbrokers Act, as well as non-payment of child support.
Leonard Allen Jr. is wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft.
Rebecca Nicole Taylor, she's wanted for violating probation on a charge of possession of a controlled substance. Taylor's last known address was in Destin.
And 30-year-old Samuel Edward Thomas III, who was last known to live in Shalimar, he's wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft.
Looking for Freanna Elizabeth Powell. She's wanted for failing to appear on a charge of vehicle theft. Her last known address was Beach Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
And Walton County deputies are still searching for 38-year-old Tiffany Michelle Bennett, who's wanted for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance.
Walton County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate James Anthony Williams for violating probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
40-year-old Andrea Joy Myers, who was last known to live on Gibson Road in Fort Walton Beach, she's wanted for violation of probation for theft.
Tashawn Coward Sr. is wanted for driving with a license that had been suspended or revoked, as well as non-payment of child support. Last known address was on Scranton Street in Fort Walton Beach. Unfortunately, we do not have a photograph available on this next individual, Jeffrey Nelson Grimes. He's a 53-year-old white male. He's wanted for possession of photography of sexual performance of a child. His last known address was in Destin.
43-year-old Ricky Joe Hawkins Jr. He's wanted for violation of probation for improper exhibition of a weapon, last known to live on Northwest Racetrack Road in Fort Walton Beach.
And take a look at James Jr. Jackson. Jackson's wanted for robbery without a weapon and grand theft.
Bobby Darren Simmons is wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation, last known to live on Wedsell Road in Sampson.
And staying with the Walton County Sheriff's Office, Casey Lynn Sukup, wanted for felony violation of probation. Last known address was 28th Street in Defuniak Springs.
And Walton County deputies are also searching for 29-year-old Herbert Samuel Duggar, and he's wanted for felony violation of probation.
And more things connected to burglaries. 45-year-old David Russell Alvarez, wanted for violating probation for burglary and grand theft. Last known address was in Navarre.
And also wanted for burglary is Grover Lewis Espy, who's 38 years old. He was last known to live on Miracle Drive in Mary Esther.
And wrapping up the list, Troy Don DeRamis, 51 years old, wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for burglary, last known, however, to live in Milligan in the north end of the county.
Now, anybody that came out to our annual Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers Crawfish Boil fundraiser back in April of this year knows how much fun it was. But really the important part for us is that we did raise a lot of money for Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, because we do not use any taxpayer dollars in the reward funds or any part of Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers. So we're happy to announce that we're already gearing up for next year's event. We're planning it for hopefully April, but we know it will be in the spring of 2019, and we are already looking for sponsorship. So if you're interested in sponsoring this great event, you can give us a call here at the office, 651-7410, or visit emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com. You can see what sponsorship packages are available, and I think you'll see that we have quite a few folks. I think we had, over 1,000, 2,000 folks that came out last year to the event.
Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he lit his hand was his home. But when he died, all he left us was alone. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he lit his hand was his home. And when he died, all he left us was alone. How, 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 how. Hey, play the guitar, Kenny.
Yeah, it's always been, and it's a fun event. It's something you definitely want to have your name associated with, because you're not only helping to keep the community safer, but having a good time in doing it. So can't beat that. We also want to wrap up this show with what for us is kind of a bittersweet thing. We're happy for Chief Deputy Greg Gaddis that he is moving on with retirement after 30 plus years with the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, but we're also sad because we're going to miss him. He has been a very special friend and a tremendous community servant.
Greg's personal and career decisions have been born and have made him unique and has left his indelible mark upon our community, his family, friends, and certainly on me, his biggest fan. When the going gets really tough, I've always thanked God that Greg was there. When sound counsel is required, I thank God that Greg was there. When you need somebody to ride with you through tough road, I've always thanked God that Greg was there. When you just need a friend, I thank God Greg was there. I will miss him. We will all miss him. But I know that his family is always welcome here. He is family. We all wish him and Tricia and his entire family much love and happiness in retirement. And don't forget us.
There's a lot of you sitting out in this audience that have helped me through the years. And I'm humbled and thankful for it.
Your retirement credentials along with your sidearm are presented with sincere appreciation for your 30 years of service, sacrifice, and dedication to the citizens of Okaloosa County and the men and women of Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office. Greg Gaddis, Chief Deputy, 1987 to 2018. You can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. Ronald Reagan. Congratulations. Because we know how busy you'll be fishing and golfing and everything and not want to be worried about mowing your grass, we've got you a couple lawnmowers. Could you show them to us? The grandbaby's going to love these things. I want you to know that they are both male and female, so you'll have plenty of additions to the family. And you youngsters can name them, pet them, take them inside, whatever you need to do. But on behalf of your command staff, we present you those 2 goats and this gift card to Tractor Supply to get whatever you need.
And that's all for this month's edition of Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Thank you for helping us keep our community safe.